What a lovely morning it is to start a new video here on the favorite channel for you watch bangers on Berlin time. My name is Andre. It's been a while, but I've been busy. Yes, but let's just jump right in. It is 10:03 in Berlin and we start this video now. So let's just clean the mat a bit. There's some crumbs, obviously, and it is very shadowy. I'll have to see if I have to close the blinds, because if the shadow get too much in the way, the camera won't be able to pick up anything. Yeah, I'll have to close the blind, sadly. Goodbye, pretty light, but we'll have to make do. So today's watch is for my friend Taro, who has his birthday, and that's why I repaired it for him. And yeah, it is a vintage Soviet dress watch from Luch. It's a pretty famous watch company in Minsk. And I think they're famous exactly for this movement because it used to be, I think, one of the most thinnest watch movements in the world. And you can see the second hand has fallen off, so we can just drop that onto the bubble wrap. And yeah, the overall condition already looks kind of decent, and let's just have a closer look. So the dial, we can see, is a bit dirty. I mean, after I guess 40-50 years of being in this world, the grime adds up. I hope we can get this away a bit. If not, it'll be fine. The sunburst style looks great, but I'm pretty sure we can get away with some cloth. Now down here it says "Сделано в СССР," so made in the Soviet Republic or Union, and this is here 23 камня, so 23 jewels. And yeah, overall, let's just check it out. There's a wind. Yep, it definitely winds, but there's no power, no ticking, which is weird. And let's see, the hands move smoothly as well. So let's just pop this up. Get the toolbox, also fresh to the collection, and pop it open. It's just an old sewing box I bought off eBay. It's kind of useful. And what I did notice in the back, there is some grime there too, so let's hope it's not too oily or dirty inside, but this definitely should be able to get removed, so we won't have any problems there. And yeah, some scratches, but it should be fine, nothing too big. I did notice though, while handling this watch, is when I'll just wind it up a bit and test, if I shake it a bit, the hand does move, but for some reason it's very erratic and only under, you know, an impact, which is not good. So I guess there's something wrong with the gear train, maybe some pivots. We'll just have to open up and find out. Now, first of all, we'll take the hands off. First, I'll use a screwdriver first here because the watch hand height is too low to use the watch hand remover. And yeah, I got this watch off eBay. It's a pretty long story. I bought it almost half a year ago. It came to Germany. I didn't get notified that it was here. It got sent back. And then I got in contact with the seller, and he happened to have some other stock like dials and cases and whatnot. So I just bought them with him and got them sent over again, and got them after I think I ordered these last October, so that's quite a while ago. By the way, I also have new tweezers, so no more abused tweezers. These are 40 bucks from Dumont, you know, the finest Swiss quality, you know, in my videos. Yeah, I must say I definitely feel a difference, especially because these are stainless steel and the ones I had are brass. So yeah, we'll just make a little label for this project. Yeah, so this is Taro's birthday watch. And yeah, otherwise the watch definitely has seen some better days. I have worked on a few of them before, and because they're so old, I often encountered that, you know, small parts just fall out. For example, I had a center pivot missing. I had some jewels just fall out of their place. So that's annoying. We'll just have to see what the issue is here. Now, my sorting boxes I also print myself. Very useful. And let's remove the hands finally. Oh, we do see there is some magnetism, so maybe we'll just have to get rid of that as well. Don't forget the second hand on the bubble wrap. And let's stow those two away. Now, they look decent. There are some missing, what is that? I guess paint. But we can't fix that, sadly. But they do look in a good quality overall. And maybe it does, you know, contribute to the vintage vibe. All right, let's pop open the back. No complicated mechanism here. I think oh, my grip just fell off. Let's take that again. Let's open up this beautiful watch. Absolutely stunning, you know. This golden color, the balance looks great. The jewels, you know, 23 up there is the caliber number 2209. So the Luch caliber 2209, that's the company, that's the logo. And oh, I think I found the issue actually. Oh no, that's the setting system. It looks decent. But the issue, oh, I think is that a missing jewel there? Yeah, I think that is a missing jewel. Let's just zoom in. Oh no. Let's just check the balance before. It does turn, but no ticking. We'll just have to see. Yeah, that's definitely a missing jewel there. You can see the pivot. That pivot should be in a jewel. It's missing. We'll just have to get a new bridge. And around the movement, there is some dirt and grime, but it looks like it didn't get into the actual case, which is good. So we definitely don't have to worry about that, and we can just clean that up in the process. Now, to start disassembling this watch, we first have to pop up the bezel. It presses down the dial, and that's why we can't remove it. So we just have to use a brunt force here, you know. I do have a special watch knife for this, but I just went for the screwdriver, I guess. Pull that off there. Now we can... while I pulled that off, the one little seconds pivot fell off. We can just take that away, push it down. There we go. The back of the dial looks absolutely disgusting, but the front side does look a bit better. Yeah, the sunburst really is lovely. So we'll just have to take that away. Now the back of the watch does not show any markings, so I guess this has not been serviced before. And also notice that two watch movement case holder clamps are missing. I do have replacements for these, but we just have to put them in later. So that's where they go. And now we can just start off by pressing down on the stem removal button. There we go, and pull out by the crown. Great, and now we can just pull up the case and isolate the watch movement. There we go. Now, the stem's absolutely filthy, needs some cleaning. Yeah, this movement definitely hasn't been serviced before, and let's strap it into our movement holder here. I do also have some historic information about this watch later, about the age and everything. It's pretty interesting, but I'll show you during the cleaning process. Now let's start disassembling the movement, and let's start by taking off the minute wheel, and then the hour wheel, of course. Needs some little force here. Oh, there we go, nothing broken. Off it goes. And I also have new screwdrivers. These are from Bezel. You know, they cost 20 bucks a piece as well, and I definitely feel the difference. The bearings are much better and the tips are much harder, so I hope they will do me well, and the watches I will use them on. All right, let's move the, what is this, the setting system cover, the two screws here. Now I can already see that that the system is quite dirty, so let's remove the screws and the cover itself in one go. And yeah, that is another translation wheel. Oh yeah, this definitely looks disgusting. Two other small wheels here, which just take the power from the winding. Oh, not the winding, actually, from the setting, and just let it flow over. And yeah, look at all that grime. That is disgusting. Now let's pry up the setting lever here. It is a bit difficult with all the dirt. A bit. There we go. Let's wiggle it up slowly, and it should fall right off there. And one more. There we go. That's it. Now we have the setting spring. Again, these springs, they just fly out like crazy. So just use a finger here, or I used a finger here to get it halfway out. And now we just use the tweezers again to wiggle it out and put it into our sorting box. Now we take out the clutch and then the second clutch wheel. So this is the wheel which is used to wind up the mainspring. It's also absolutely dirty. And you can see there where the clutches lay, it's just dark. And this lever doesn't come out until later, so we'll just flip this over. The front side is taken out. You can see all the jewels. Lovely. All right, let's flip this bad boy over and let's get working on the back side of this watch movement. Now first we remove the balance. This balance is pretty nice. I like the little like weights on the golden ring. These are predominantly seen in the older ones, but yeah, the newer ones have smooth golden rings. So let's take this away carefully. This is the pallet fork which hooks into the escapement, and let's unscrew the pallet fork bridge. It's also a lovely shape. I've never seen such a fluid shape before. It's something nice to see. I guess the designers back in Minsk really did put their soul into this. Otherwise they would have been sent to the gulag, I guess, but you know. And let's take this off and let's see. Great. See, normally if someone would oil the pivot on the pallet wrong, it would stick to the bridge, but it's still laying there and didn't get taken off with the bridge itself, so that's already a good sign. And let's remove the main bridge to look at the gear train underneath. We will have to replace this bridge, as I said before, because of the missing jewel there under the company logo. It is a shame. Lovely bridge. All right, let's look at this. And okay, interesting. We have the first wheel there, the escapement, the second wheel, and now we have this small little bridge which hooks into the mainspring. You can see all the gears turning. Now let's remove these to get these wheels out of the way, and the second screw is a bit deeper in the bridge. I've never seen this before either. A lot of firsts in this video. And oh, the screw just flew out there, my bad. I'll just take the bridge off and then we can pick up the screw. There we go, nothing gets left behind. And let's focus in on it. There it is. And the two wheels which were underneath there. Now we can get to the winding system. So this is the ratchet wheel. In a sense, we can just unscrew this. And oh, there's really some dirt there. Okay, this needs to get cleaned as well. All right, ratchet wheel is gone, and these screws you see with these 3 stripes, these are reverse screws, so they don't screw into right. So you just reverse screw them in. And this is because when the winding system works, the way the gears wind can unscrew the screws, and that's why we have 2 screws here which screw into the different direction, so that something like that cannot happen. Now, the second, I guess, translation wheel and the third wheel there. Oh, this is magnetic as well. Yeah, this definitely has to get demagnetized, otherwise the readings may be absolute trash, but we'll come to that later. Now you can see there's a lot of grime and oil in there which has built up over the years, so this gets cleaned and we'll definitely lubricate this well so nothing like this will happen again. Now we take the center pinion, the cannon pinion out of there, and we can get to the click. This is what hooks into the ratchet wheel so that the mainspring cannot unwind itself. There it is. And I think there is another, yep, there's another spring there, absolutely tiny. Oh, I have lost one of these before on a different watch, so I'll just be careful here. Now finally we can remove the mainspring bridge and another screw, which I think is for the lever on the front side. Let's just lift it up and see if my suspicions are right. And there we go. Slowly. Yeah. Yep. All right. So you can see there where the stem is, it's absolutely disgusting. There's a lot of oil there, so that has to be cleaned and lubricated properly as well. And this here is the little pressing button. You can use the stem releasing button, and it gets held in place by that little thin strip of metal. so we'll have to rebuild that later, and now we can just press out the lever. There we go. It's also pretty rusty. Yeah, we'll have to treat this as well. Alright, so, and with that, we can take a look at the mainspring. Since the movement itself is disassembled, we'll just prop it open with a screwdriver and lift the lid. Alright, seems to be in good condition. There's no bends, no hicks, nothing broken, so we can just take out the arbor here with the, there we go. It doesn't look too dirty. And now we will unwind this mainspring by hand. And I've seen this in a video. I can link it in the description as well. So you just basically prop it out the first few rings, and then you just wiggle your thumbs in this pattern. Usually this works better with automatic or newer movements, because this is so old, this is a bit different, but there we go. We just wiggle the thumbs around so the mainspring unwinds around them, and you should end up with such a mainspring in the end. In the end there, that's where the most tension is built up, and it looks pretty decent, so good quality. Now, to service this mainspring, usually you would use mainspring winder, but that thing costs like, I don't know, 600 bucks, and I'm broke. So I'll be doing it by hand yet again, and I'll be using just some gloves, because you don't want any like dirt or skin or excess grime coming on the mainspring. Now we'll start by giving it a good rub down with some lighter fluids, and lighter fluid will just, you know, get away and take away all the greases and oils which have built up. That's a good degreaser. And after that, after you've treated the whole length, you just do the same thing with isopropyl alcohol. It'll just clean up the mainspring and take away the rest, you know, all the lighter fluid which is left over, or some dried residue. Now, before we go on, we can just demagnetize this just to be sure. You know, it never hurts to demagnetize something. And now we move to lubricating the watch. I use Mobius A200. I know it's natural grease, which means over time it'll go rancid and turn dark, as a lot of the residue you've seen before. But the synthetic products just cost too much, so I use A200. And you just do the same thing. You rub down the length of the mainspring with this, you know, soaked cloth, and just try to lubricate every inch and centimeter of the mainspring. Obviously you can also use different methods. This is just the one I use. Now this little hook, because this is a manual wind, this will hook into the barrel housing and the lid, and that is the hole where it hooks in. And unlike an automatic, we don't have to, you know, it doesn't spin constantly, so that's why it has to get hooked. It has to get hooked into the barrel housing. Of course, we'll lubricate the housing as well with some A200 and some of the walls, just to be sure. I'm not sure if I'm overdoing it. If somebody knows it, if I am, just post it in. And here I am trying to fit this mainspring back into the barrel housing. Now this is the part which the mainspring winder would do for you, but I do this by hand. Obviously there's some risk involved and some skill and patience, and yeah, you just have to think about how the mainspring is going to get wound into the mainspring in the mainspring housing. And so you just put it in and press it against the wall, and then you just wind in more and more of it. Obviously, as I said, there's some risk. I did break this mainspring in the end. I wound it in the wrong way, but luckily I had a replacement and managed to do that perfectly. So that's a bit sad, but you know, all worked out in the end anyways. So this is what it should look like in the end. If you did a great job, it looks absolutely smooth. Now we will add a little drop of A200 onto the mainspring. And then we won't forget to lubricate the arbor with HB1300. This is an oil, not a grease. And we will snap that in there. That looks great. Don't mind the abused tweezer. And put the lid on, make sure that the hooks align. And now we can just snap it closed. Yep, great. Alright, that is the mainspring service done. Now we get to the lubrication of the jewels on the balance, or in the shock jewels, and these are secured by this little lid here, which I have to carefully prod open with some wood there. And let's take this off. Now what this does is, you can see later, this really lets the balance do its job. So the pivots, they just flow in these jewel bearings, and they just let the hairspring, you know, do its work. And without these, it just stands still. I'll show you after I remove the back side here. Same process, take off the little cover and use Rodico to get the shock jewel and bearing out. There we go. Now let's place these into the bath so they can soak and clean as well. Now, lid it up. Now I'll show you what I do with cleaning the case and its parts. So this is the back cover, and we just use, you know, some lighter fluid again to clear up the grime. You can see that there is some dirt there on the Q-tip. Now I use some peg wood to just scrape off, you know, all the grime and dirt stuck to the walls, and then as a final rinse I'll just use alcohol to wash that all away. And then we just, you know, continue and repeat the process on every part. This is the main housing. Do it on the legs as well, and the back. That is very, very important. That's where the most dirt is, and you can see this is the bezel as well. And now these are all the stuff I used. You know, the Q-tip is absolutely disgusting after this cleaning. So is the pegwood. You can see the dirt on the tip there, and then the paper is also just coated in some brownish gunk. So that's definitely not good. And now we get to cleaning the individual parts. I cleaned around 80 parts here, replaced 2. And you know, I start off with a wash of a lighter fluid, then go to alcohol to rinse them off. Now, I did talk about the historic, you know, significance of this movement. On the right, you can see the different logos. The top is the first one, the second is the one we have now, and the third one is the more modern one they used, you know, to ship overseas. And you can see, you know, really the different years and how the logo has changed. Now, yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. I've been doing fine. It's a lot of stress with uni, with living, you know, on my own and with a flatmate. And yeah, that's about it. See, if I shake this now, the jewels aren't there and it barely shook. So now we just reinsert these jewels after they've been cleaned and into the clean wash movement main plate. So now we oil it with Mobius 9010. That is for fast moving, high friction parts. So the pivots are constantly moving. That's why they're high speed, and they're always, you know, rubbing against the jewel. That's why there's a lot of friction. So we put in the cap as well and the cover. Let's lock that in. And then when we move to the front side, you can definitely see the moment, you know, the pivot gets into place, and once the optimal lubrication is achieved. So let's put in the jewel here first. 1 second. Let's press it down. There we go. You already see the balance moved a bit. Let's oil it. Again, a small drop of 9010. And now we can put on the cap and press it down. And the moment the balance is going to move, there it is. See, you can see it moves instantly. So that definitely does a lot to the health of your watch and, you know, the quality of the service, I suppose. Now, there are different techniques of applying the jewel and the jewel cap. I do it the reverse way around. I put the jewel in first and then the jewel in cap. Some people oil the jewel cap first and then put it on the jewel and put that onto the balance, but that's just, you know, preference. But I do understand the benefit of that. I'm just stubborn, I guess. Now you can see the balance swing smoothly again. Now, after all the cleaning has done, we can start rebuilding the movement. We will oil the center jewel here and put in the cannon pinion first. And then, you know, turn it around a bit so the oil gets spread. And insert the 2 small wheels on the side before adding the bridge. There. Let's put it down. And let's screw this bridge down. Oops, I forgot to film a screw there, but I hope you guys can forgive me. Now we can't forget to oil the pivots here. Again, Mobius 9010, and the cannon pinion gets oiled with HP 1300, and then we can put in the sweep second pinion. This is what fell out at the start, and get to the gear train. So first wheel put in. Now we can put in the second wheel. Let's slide this under there, and then the escapement wheel. Perfect. Now we just top it off with the replacement main plate, main bridge, my bad. Let's just make sure that no pinion is stuck, because if we don't align this correctly on the first try and we screw it down, the bridge and the pinion can damage each other, and then we just have to replace the whole wheel, or maybe even bridge if some pivot or some jewel gets damaged. So you really have to watch out here. Now we can just turn it and see if it works. Lovely. And don't forget to oil the jewels, of course. We can do the backside later. Let's slip in the mainspring and turn it. There we go. They'll spread the oil a bit as well. And let's quickly move to the front. This is the setting lever, one of the setting levers, and this is which is being held by this little thin strip of metal in the back, so we have to carefully make sure that those sit and attach them, because we can't do that later on when we put on the mainspring main plate, the mainspring bridge. Now screw this down as well and put in the oiled pallet fork. This is oiled with 9415. I just can't film it because it's very handy work and I have to concentrate. Now let's snap on the pallet bridge, make sure it's sitting correctly. Okay, that hits, nice. And let's screw this bad boy down. Now we come to the winding system, the ratchet wheel in a sense, and its screw. We can just tighten it down. Good to see that there's no grime here, and we can see that once it's tightened down, there is some resistance to the screwdriver, so the mainspring service worked. Now we can add the following 3 wheels with their screws, 1 and the second one, and their little metal covers around the actual pins. And for lubrication, I use Molykote DX. It's a heavy grease used, I think, in the automobile industry, and it somehow established itself in, you know, the watch community because it's just very thick and viscous and doesn't really get anywhere, and it helps metal on metal contact, so very useful in this kind of scenario. And now we can just tighten screw 2 and screw 3. See, these go in the reverse order. Now we can test if everything works. There we go, everything moves, everything works smoothly. And now we can put in the click or the ratchet. First, the spring has to get placed in. These can fly away as well really easily, so careful here. Put in the ratchet and screw this bad boy down. Now once that's done, we can just move on to the front side so we can wind up the watch later. So the first winding clutch, now the setting clutch. Warning, I put the setting clutch in the wrong way and I did not film the correct way. So the setting clutch, just imagine it being the different way. Now obviously we lubricate this with Molykote DX as well. I'm not sure how much Molykote I should use. I just put it down, the contact points and the friction points. Might be that I'm just drowning this movement in monocoat. So any tips, they are very welcome. Put in the setting lever. The setting lever is also put in the wrong way, so just imagine it the wrong way. Now the setting spring, this is fairly simple, much easier than getting it out. You just put it in, snap it in, boom, it sets the lever to the correct position. You just have to press down in the back a bit there. Now we can put in the 2 translation wheels. Obviously the pins they are resting on are also lubricated. And the bigger wheel here, before putting in the arrow wheel, lubricating the wheel with HP 1300, and then putting in the minute wheel, of course. Now let's press that down, and that's done. Now after that's done, we can put on the cover plate and let that hook into that pin there in the corner, and put in the screws. 1, 2. Oh, I forgot to film that as well, my bad. And yeah, now you can see the setting working fine. And now we can just wind up the watch so it has a bit of juice in it before we put in the mainspring. Now slowly put that on there and adjust it a bit so it falls into place. There we go, and let's see. Ah, lovely, there we go. Great, the watch is working. Let's screw that down. And that's the working, finished, clean, serviced movement. Looks absolutely stunning. And yeah, don't forget the the cover thing for the minute wheel. And now we can start reassembling the watch movement into the case, but only after lubricating the jewels from the backside, except for this jewel right here. That is the pivot jewel, the fork jewel. Don't oil that. Now let's clean up the dial a bit. Now we use a Q-tip, just rub it. I just used some lukewarm water, and it did clean up the grime bit on the right, but that's about it. Now we can attach it onto the movement. Just let it fall on, and let the legs fall into their holes. And now we can just attach the dial by fixating the dial leg holder screws on the side there. That's one. And then the second one on this side. And now we can just let it fall into the clean case like this. Reattach the stem so something holds the movement into the case. And let's wind it up a bit. Now these are the missing movement clamps which I replaced. Just screw them in. You can see they're just a piece of metal, but when you screw them in, you can see that the movement gets elevated just a bit, and it's suspended in the watch case, which is very useful, so it doesn't just rattle around when you move. And now we can reattach the watch hands. Here you just have to be careful that the hour is a full hour, so when you try to set the time, that the time just so the hour hand and the minute hand are synchronized. And when we put the seconds hand on it, great, it starts moving. Wonderful. Another watch working yet again. Now let's just give the dial a last little cleaning push there and insert the acrylic crystal. I was thinking about using mineral, but the height wasn't there, so I went to acryl and demagnetize the watch again one last time before putting it onto the Timegrapher. Slide it in. Start the Timegrapher. Now this is very bad. You can see that the Timegrapher isn't registering anything and the rhythm is totally off. I ended up replacing the whole balance because the old one was just too old, I guess. And yeah, the numbers came back much better on this here. This is before regulation. This is after I regulated it a bit, so the only thing I don't know is the lift angle, but it should be fine. Amp and rate are pretty decent. Now let's slide it off there. And of course, we will have to put our signature on the back of the case bottom. Let's just put A/2022. So if in 70 years someone opens this, they know that some little pleb called A badly serviced this watch in the year 2022. Now that's a little picture. Forever is engraved in that metal. And now we can just close the watch and finish this video. All right, let's press it down. Nice and smoothly, click. There we go. And of course, to a classy watch, you need classy straps. And this was financed by the other friends of Tissot. So let's just hook it in. This dark brown leather will definitely give it a much more classy vibe. One, and the second one, and that's it. Nice. And now some B-roll. The lovely watch movement. It's absolutely stunning. And on the wrist, it looks pretty decent as well. It'll definitely look better on Tissot's wrist. And yeah, that was the watch video, and we have revitalized this old Luch 2209 back to its former Soviet glory. Of course, there's the mandatory V-roll. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Any comments, questions, complaints, put them down below. And I'm just happy that, you know, I managed to fix a watch for a dear friend of ours, and that this watch will hopefully accompany him for a long way of his life. And yeah, it took 8 hours, but it was worth it. See you guys next video.